Now, Democrats have been pushing hard to really build their case here, but the White House has been working equally hard to try and stonewall the investigation, perhaps somewhat unsuccessfully. We've now had the ambassador to the Ukraine testify. It seems like the ambassador to the EU has agreed to testify next week. Are Democrats actually cracking this stonewalling by the White House?
To some degree, yes. And in other areas, we're seeing legal challenges by the president and his team. They may win some of those temporarily, but they can't really afford to lose any of those legal challenges. And that is probably one of the things that's most dangerous for the president.
Can you just outline for our international audience the nature in which the White House is doing this? How unprecedented is it, and what does it mean for the Constitution?
Well, we really haven't seen anything like this since the Nixon administration in the early 1970s, the Watergate scandal, which most people have heard of. But what happened in that case, essentially, is the president yielded. He decided to resign rather than face impeachment or take this all the way to a constitutional challenge. In the United States, we have what are considered three co-equal branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, the checks and balance system. What the president is doing in this particular case is saying that the executive branch should, no pun intended, trump all. And there is pushback, obviously, from the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the opposition Democrats. The Senate is controlled by the president's own party. And then the judiciary branch, the judges, are supposed to be above all of the politics, except at the level of the Supreme Court and the lower federal court. Those are judges that are appointed by either the current president or past presidents of both parties. So it is a real test. And we haven't seen anything like this since the Nixon era, and maybe, as it goes on, never before in American history.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. And of course, as if impeachment wasn't enough, Donald Trump's tax returns may be released to public scrutiny. If they are, how damaging might they be?
Well, we don't know what's in the tax returns. There's a lot of speculation. There's speculation that perhaps it shows that in some years the president didn't pay any federal income taxes. But what his opponents are hoping for is that in those returns are linkages between the president's businesses and, for example, the Russians that would be politically damaging to him. Again, there will be appeals. The president could win at a higher court, or it could go to the Supreme Court, or the justices of the Supreme Court may decide to let a lower court ruling stand on this. And at present, that would mean that the tax returns would have to be turned over.
And in your view, there's a fair bit of projection in this question, I understand, but how do you think this might affect President Trump in the 2020 election? I know that there's a lot going against him at the moment, but he's his own best messenger, and he's done a very good job of really riling up his base. Here he is, his second rally in the space of a couple of nights. Do you think that this is really going to affect him, especially given the fact that in the Clinton administration, even though he was impeached, he won by an even bigger margin?
Correct. That's what the Trump team is hoping for. And if you look at the polls, there has not really been much impact in his overall popularity. Now, what is changing is when people are polled on whether there should be an impeachment inquiry or whether the president should be impeached and removed from office. Those are different steps. The support for the president in those polls with those questions is eroding. And what everyone's going to be looking at, especially Republicans, members of the president's own party, as we get to election 2020 in November of next year, and for those who are running for re-election, such as in the House of Representatives, is the president's support holding? Right now, most lawmakers who are of the president's party don't see that it is prudent to go against the president because he can really damage them politically. So watch what's happening with Republican Party members who are polled and independents as well, because the president needs some of those independents in the swing states to get reelected.